Then went to Kaduna to a boarding school. After my common entrance, I gained admission to Federal Government College, Kano, from 1974 to 1979, where I passed out certificate. And then I got admitted to the School of Basic Studies of Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, 7980, after which I got admission to the Department of Civil Engineering of Ahmadu Bello University, where I graduated in 1984 with the second class upper. Thereafter, I did my youth service and then got appointed to the Federal Capital Development Authority here in Abuja, posted to the Central Area Project Office. After 2 months, I got bored, left and went to Kano, to the Water Resources and Engineering Construction Agency, WRECA, where I got my full tutelage as an engineer. From there, that's where I was able to get my COREN, an NSC certificate. And after that, I went back to ABU to study, so to go for postgraduate studies. I finished my coursework, but we couldn't agree with my lecturer on a topic for my dissertation. And after waiting for a year and seeing that one of my colleagues with whom we graduated much earlier had been coming around for 3-4 years, he has still not been able to finish his master's degree. I got frustrated and I decided I didn't want to do master's anymore. And went back to RECA. I had just been promoted to senior engineer when I got back and then decided we had our current certificate. So we had earlier formed a company, Integrated Engineering Associates. In 1992, I moved to Kaduna permanently, where the office was located. Began my private practice as a consulting engineer. It's from that position that I was appointed minister. I over years as a partner, and then I came to become the managing director of the firm from 2000 to 2015, which time.
Can you tell us about your family background?
Well, my father was a civil servant, where my mother was a housewife. Even though she had gone to school, but decided to be a housewife. My father retired from the civil service in 1976 as a permanent secretary. We also come from the royal family of Kazore. And that's why I got my title as Galadima Kazore, because of that family connection. I'm married with 4 kids, 2 of them engineers, 1 economist and 1 architect. And I'm number 5 among my siblings. I have 2 other brothers from the same mom, 2 other brothers and 4 sisters. And that's it, I think.
Why did you study engineering? Civil engineering particularly.
Yeah. First of all, when we were in school, I was confused a little bit by the time I ran Form 3 because I was equally comfortable with humanities subjects as I was with science subjects. But because maybe most of my friends were on the science side, so I tilted more to that side. I was one of the top students in history. I was also good in literature and English language, all those arts courses. But I opted to go for science, maybe because of the influence of some of my friends. Also, in the additional mathematics, what you call further maths today. So there was maybe some kind of peer inspiration. And then eventually, when we finished our A-levels in SBS, I still had an option. My original plan was to go to study architecture. But then my my dad talked me out of it, said that he felt that architecture was not really the real thing. I should go for engineering, and he thought that engineering was more prestigious. So, okay, if I'm going to do engineering, I better do civil, because at that time also, my dad was also uh, chairman of a company, a foreign company that was into consulting, and we used to interact with some of the management. So I took interest in that. And on the first list, I made the first list, because that time we used to have first list, second list for admissions. When the first list came out, my name was already on the civil engineering list. Even at that point, at one point, I was tempted before the registration to change, because it was easy. But after 2 days of thinking and reflection, I felt like, look, let me just go for it. And I did. But when we got in...
Let me ask you.
Yeah.
Let me ask you. You, in 1984, you won the Nigerian Ports Authority Prize for the best final year students of civil engineering. What impact did that make in your engineering career?
Well, to be honest with you, if not because you have to show certain things on your CV, it's not something that I really carried on my head. I still don't. But I think it's quite a prestigious thing. And whenever you're looking for a job, you have those kind of awards. I think it adds to your CV. Okay, this is probably if he was able to get this kind of award, then probably he can do the job. But we're lucky in our days. There was no competition for jobs everywhere. So, but it's nice. One funny thing I'll tell you is that the name was there. It was announced at our convocation, but up to today, I've not received the prize. I really don't know what the prize was. Whether it was money or books, I never even looked. I never went to our department to find out, okay, where's my prize? Not even a plaque or anything, but it's there on record. You check the convocation records for that year, for a year, you will see that winner MPA prize for the best Friday year in civil engineering. It's a good feeling, but it's not something that I really make fuss out of.
When you graduated from school, as you said earlier, and to be precise, in 1985, you joined the services of the Federal Capital Development Authority. You were just 22 years old as at that time. FCDA was and is still a dream of many young engineers. Why did you leave FCDA to join the private sector?
Well, RECA was not a private sector anyway, just for a point of correction. It was an agency of the Kano State government. But what happened was I was here for 6 weeks. I still have my textbooks from university, and every time, if I were to show you some of my textbooks, you'll see where I used to. When I was bored in class, when we were during lectures, you know what's called doodling. You just be scribbling all kinds of things, and I would be scribbling Engineer SULEIMAN ADAMU, consulting engineer. So it was something that was really ringing in my head to be a consultant. So when I go to FCDA, of course, as a level 8 officer, all what we were doing was doing slump tests, looking at drawings, this and that. And then we had at the Central Area Office, I was assigned along with some other people, I recall especially Engineer ADAMU, who was also a senior engineer at that time, for us to be reviewing engineering drawings. And I was shocked to see that all the drawings for the Central Area project, they had all the flyovers and so on, the roads were to German standard, DN standard. And I was saying, well, hey, what's going on? Anyway, I found the job boring. That's one. Number two, Uh, I had the privilege of working under, probably know Engineer Badamasi Tahir, who was the Director of Water Supply here in the Ministry of Water Resources, died a couple of years ago before I became Minister. And he was on secondment to where I was doing my youth service. And then one day we went out together and he was asking me, what are your plans after youth service? And I said that I'm interested in water engineering. So, well, if you're interested in water engineering, I think the best thing for you is to go to RECA in Kano. I didn't put much, thought to it, and then we left. And then, while I was here in FCD, I went for a weekend to Kano and I met a classmate who happens to be one of the guys who we pulled out to form Integrated Engineer Associate, and he was already employed at RECA. So I was asking a few questions, how was the work and so on, and I realized that probably that was the best place for me. So I touched base with the people in RECA and I was asked to apply. By then, the Tahir was also there. So, and then I was lucky to be posted to the consultancy service division, which was my dream. So that was it. It's just that I just didn't like being a site supervisor. Let's just put it that way.
Talking about consultancy services, Integrated Engineering Associates, tell us about it and what inspired you to form the firm in 1987.
Well, first of all, when President Buhari came into office, people don't remember in 1984, 85, I think there was a decree that he put in place that because of the problem of unemployment, that when you graduated, as soon as you got your certificate or something, you could actually go on your own. There was a certain, I can't remember the details, but his government made it possible that people could go and establish their own businesses. So we're mindful of that. But of course, we knew that we couldn't do anything without our current certification. So we strove very hard to get to that, to be able to get our current certification. And I'll tell you, although the salary in RECA was a lot better than Ministry of Civil Service, being a parastatal and an agency, it was still a problem for me because immediately after service, I got married. So that means I had additional responsibility. And I realized that I could not depend on just my salary. And I also gave myself a good thought that, look, if I stay too long in the public service, one, I will feel insecure to leave. Secondly, maybe the service would have sapped a lot of my energy. So maybe I should just venture into the world while I was still young. And one day, one of my colleagues just came and said, look, we need to start thinking of the way forward. I said, well, exactly that's what I've been thinking. And then, so three of us sat together. I said, okay, let's just register a company. At least we're working, but we can make some extra money through PPP or PP, not PPP. PP we used to call it. You know what PP? Private practice. So that's how we started. The two of us were in government. My colleague was in the private sector. So we'll get some little jobs, and my dining table was my drawing table. I'll go to work, come back in the evening and on weekends. Well, I had half of Saturday and Sunday because in RECA we used to work even on Saturdays. So we'll do some of the work, we'll do some PPs. And gradually, to the point that felt that we need to move out. And we started getting the confidence to go and look for bigger jobs. We got a couple of consultancies that enabled us to set up an office. And that was it. And we felt that, look, if we don't start this now, then maybe we never. So we all resigned from our positions in 1992 and just went straight into it. Because the company was registered in 87, it was just an ad hoc thing. But by 1992, by 1990, think I had my current certificate at hand. And I was legally qualified to practice. So what else could stop me? So we just moved on.
You were actively involved in the supervision of projects during the Petroleum Special Trust Fund era. What roles did you play during that period?
Well, first of all, when the PTF program came about, at that time, that was 1995, and we are one of the first few engineering consulting firms to invest in ICT. So we had computerized our system. We had all the plotter, every equipment that you could think of a modern consulting firm we had invested. We're not getting money from we're not taking our fees and buying new cars and traveling abroad. We're investing back into the office, buying software, buying manuals and so on. So we're fully computerized. And just before PTF, the Afri Projects Consortium, who were the main consultants to PTF, had course to work with us on a certain number of projects. And when the PTF assignment was given to them, they realized that they needed it required a lot of engineering content. And only two of the were engineers. So they invited us to join them to be part of it. And under that arrangement, where we came in as junior partners in the consortium, I was assigned the role of coordinating the planning of some of the programs. And there wasn't only engineering, but also other sectors, because probably my colleagues in Afri Project saw that I could do those things. And I'm glad it happened, because I now had a wide view of developmental projects. So I handled all the water projects, principally urban, semi-urban, and rural water supply schemes. I handled the planning for the inland waterways that we are proposing dredging of the River Niger. I did handle certain aspects of urban water, and then wastewater, urban sanitation, because we also had some projects with the Urban Development Bank at that time. And I did a lot of other projects because until they are able to employ more people, I had to deal with rehabilitation, planning for the rehabilitation of schools, educational and health institutions, as well as procurements for books, procurement for transport.
Okay, let me come in, Honorable Minister. Which of these projects you have mentioned exposed you to your best engineering experience?
I think it was more of I think planning for the dredging of the River Niger was a big one, although we're not able to do it until the PTF was scrapped. But I think it was such a huge endeavor at that time. We're looking at about 8-9 billion naira worth of contract at that time. We had 5 major contractors to work with, and I was saddled with not only dealing with the engineering aspect of it, but also with the procurement and the project management aspect of that. But I also enjoyed planning the rural water supply program that we had. And it gladdens me that up to today, there are certain areas I go, I still see signboard, I still see some boreholes working on the rural water supply scheme that we did. So, well, mainly the water sector, I think I'm better. But what I learned out of that experience was I could do a lot of multitasking. I learned to do 10 things at the same time. And at the same time, I realized that maybe I could be a good project manager. And that will also inform the reason why I went to Reading after PTF to go and to do my master's in project management.
Do you have any regret practicing in Nigeria?
Not at all. I think I'm convinced, especially from my experience in the PTF days, and all the other projects that we have done, which are still standing. So in Abuja, you see AP Plaza, you see Total Building. Those are buildings that we've done. I have no regrets whatsoever. I think Nigerian professionals can do it as good as any other. All we need are the tools, and all we need is the opportunity.
Can you say you are a fulfilled engineer?
Absolutely. So many ways. Maybe the only thing I've not been able to do is to be a contractor. That's the only thing I think. And I think on a serious note, I think engineers need to take the lead in PPPs for infrastructure as contractors, because we have allowed the field to be dominated by foreign power. All these things that they are doing, we can do them. The only thing is for us to equip ourselves with the management skills, and maybe we need the support to get the financial backing. But I don't think there's anything that we can do. So I wish, if I have anything else to do now, I wish I could give Julius Berger a run for their money as a contractor.
You talking about now your professional association, Nigerian Society of Engineers. You became a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers at a very young age, I think 36 years. And how did you join the society? And who inspired you to join?
I was a graduate member while I was in Kano, Reka. That time we had doyens of the profession of the association, like late engineer late engineer Magajabulai, all the likes of engineer Tahir, many other engineers, Lowell Audi, all the big engineers in Kano. And I quickly joined the FNSE as a graduate member. And it was a tradition at that time in Reka that every year Reka would sponsor some of us to go for the NSE AGMs. I had the benefit of going to Takot and other places. So that was an inspiration. And then when I got to Kaduna, I moved back to Kaduna. I was also involved. But unfortunately, by the time I got to Abuja, 1985, when we started this picture, we were quite busy, very busy. But on occasions, I took opportunity to attend some of the meetings. And I think NSE Abuja branch quickly adopted me, maybe appreciated my potentials. And I'm very glad, quite appreciative, and very proud of it. I remember when I was being conferred with a fellowship, I remember that I used to be working as an electrical engineer. He was the one that beat me. I said, you beat me. I was a fellow at 38, but you are getting at 36, so you have set a new record. So I'm very proud of that.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Minister. If you are just joining us, this is Inside the Arena Season 5. Inside the Arena is a very distinguished engineer who has distinctively distinguished himself in all the sphere of engineering practice. And today, by the special grace of God, he is the Honorable Minister of Water Resources, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Engineer SULEIMAN ADAMU, Fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers and Fellow of the Academy of Engineering. Honorable Minister, who is your model? Who is your role model?
Well, there are role models, but I think in general in life, I think my late father was my role model. If you are talking professionally, I have other role models.
Okay, can you mention one in the field of engineering?
Professionally, I think the late Salihijo Ahmed was a big inspiration to me. Late Salihijo Ahmed.
Salihijo Ahmed.
Yes, our project coordinator under the PTFs, very fantastic fellow, very good professional to the core. He was one role model. I also see the likes of Engineer Khalil, late Khalil, Badamasi Tahir, and late Engineer. As very good mentors.
All
But I
right,
think
let's
also
now go to.
I also have a hero in the late Engineer Sali Ilyasu. I think
Wow.
that was one guy. I can't miss him. And of course, the late Alhaji Balarabe Ismail, Engineer Balarabe Ismail.
Talking about Engineer Sali Ilyasu was the second chairman of the Nigerian Site of Engineers Abuja branch.
Yes.
I think he served as chairman of the branch in 1985. And may his soul continue to rest in peace. Now, why serving as in the year 2016, you became the president of the Association of Consulting Engineering in Nigeria. Again, you served from 2016 to 2017. Was that a dream come true? And what were your major achievements as president of ACEN?
Yes, I think it was an achievement. In any case, the same way that you have a succession arrangement in the Nigerian Society of Engineers, we have a similar arrangement in ACEN. So I was already lined up to be the next ACEN president. And then that was the meeting at which that was ratified was in November, just 2 weeks before I was appointed minister. And then I now spoke to my team and said, look, to the council, that this is what's happening. How will I marry the two? They said, well, relations permit you to stay as president. We'd like to keep it. Because when we ever have an opportunity to have an ACEN president as minister? So I now checked with the presidency, and I was told that since as long as it's not a salary paying job, that was okay. So now accepted, and I presided over my first council meeting in 2016. There was we had so-called doctrine of necessity, and a special advisor was appointed to support what I was doing for council. What major achievements I think was well, I didn't quite achieve it. What I wanted to do, when I was being lined up to be president, I told them that I was going to move ACEN Secretariat to Abuja. And everybody said that was fine. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do that because the first year of my work as minister was very, very, very busy and challenging. But ultimately, I think now, through a lot of efforts which are initiated, we've been able to get land now in Abuja for the association. So I think it's a legacy that I wasn't able to do the main thing that I wanted to do. But at least I set the process. Now that we have land in Abuja, I think we're in a good state. Yeah.
Your Excellency, I first met you on the 18th day of April 2015. That was the day before your birthday. I could remember I came to the office of the then Director of Mass Housing, FCD Engineer Umar Gambo Jibrin, who later became the Executive Secretary. And while I was about to leave, we introduced you to me, and he said, this is Meet Engineer SULEIMAN ADAMU, the MD of Integrated Engineering Associates. And he told me that your birthday was the next day, that we should also celebrate you in our platforms. And I took your picture and I posted it and I sent the link to you. Shortly after that, the next thing, some months after, I saw you on the television and you were given a brief. I say, is this not the face that I met some time ago? And I called him, I said, that's your friend I met in the office. Is he now the minister of? He said, yes, that's the minister. You were appointed the minister in 2015. Did that come to you as a surprise?
Well, in a way, yes. In a way, no. The point is,
why no and why yes?
Yes, no, because since President Buhari went into politics, I've always been on his political team, but there was never a single day that I said to him that, Mr. Oga, if you become president, this is what I want. Neither did he ever mention that, look, if I ever win this election, this is what I'm going to do. So, when he became president, I came and congratulated him. I met him in Kaduna, and then subsequently, when he moved into the villa permanently, I went to see him, also wish him well. I went back to Kaduna, and I was playing my golf when I received a call that I should send my CV. Before then, I had a couple of rumors. Some people were saying that I had been screened, and I said, look, I don't believe in all these things. If indeed something like that was going to happen, I know Harry would get in touch with me. Eventually, he did. So it was that's the not the other side of it. But I also knew that probably because, and everybody said because I had worked very closely in his campaign, all the four elections that I went through from 2003, 2007, 11, and 2015. And obviously, I knew that there would be some role, and we've come a long way. We were also, we served under PTF, and he knew our capacity, and I was, myself and Engineer Afindadi were instrumental to, we prepared the manifesto, the Buhari program, the program that was for the merger with that formed APC, and these the three previous elections. We had a Buhari program, and Engineer Afindadi and myself were the architects of that program. We developed the program for checking all the aspects of governance, and he approved it. So, and knowing my man, I knew that at some point he would say, look, you guys need to come and implement this. And you can see both myself and Afindadi are in government today. So that wasn't surprising. But the surprise thing was, okay, that he felt that maybe I should take a ministerial appointment. Before then, my one thinking was probably some agency or maybe working in his office as maybe a special assistant in charge of certain things. That's all. It didn't strike me at all that I was going to come into this government serial position.
You were a key player. You were a very key player in the promulgation of the Executive Order number 5. What role did you play?
Well, I still serve as the chairman of the technical subcommittee. And also there's a standing committee by the Federal Executive Council try how we can get to implement the order. When the first draft was done, I was also one of those that reviewed the document, polished it before it went to the Federal Executive Council. Was a major promoter of that bill. I mean, the executive order at FAEng, getting it passed. And, in terms of advocacy, getting all our needs to speak. I feel very glad that I participated in that. I thank the Minister of Science and Technology initiated the process, and brought me in to buy in and to input it. In particular, I was very much instrumental to particular clause in that executive order, which says that when you have consultants, Nigerian consultants and foreign consultants working, Nigerian consultants must be the lead consultants. That's what.
Now, one of your notable achievements in the Ministry of Water Resources is the actualization of the Water Resources Roadmap. Can you share some insight on that?
Well, we engineers are trained to plan. You don't just go into something without planning. So what we did was to assemble a team of expert stakeholders, the water sector, and sit down and dissect. I mean, not dissect, but yeah, dissect the whole sector and understand the problems, and before you now chart a course. So that's what we did, and then we came up with a 6-7 point agenda. One was to review all the policies, the regulations, the laws. Two, to ensure that we continue implementing strategic projects in the water sector, in the water resource sector, in water supply, dams, hydro. 3, we wanted to revitalize, further, there's a need to revitalize the river basin development authorities. 4, even the ministry itself, we decided to look at it to see how we could make it more efficient. 5, we came up also with a new irrigation development program. 6, we looked at transboundary issues, so how to strengthen our clearly the problem. Hydropower, and finding alternative sources of funding of project, because there was a litany of projects that we inherited, 116, some ongoing, but at a very slow pace, some abandoned. And we came early on, we realized that what part of the problem was that budgetary allocation was not sufficient. We needed to find other ways to deal with them. So we also started to promote ideas, to strengthen the promotion ideas of PPP, and also things like BOT, especially for hydropower projects. So these are got the roadmap approved by Mr. President. Everything that will be doing the roadmap and National Water Master Plan was designed or developed in 1995. Has never fully implemented.
Can you, Honorable Minister, can you increase the volume of your mic a little?
No, I'm using a desktop, so maybe
okay,
I'm
okay,
doing
we
the
can
best
hear
that I
you
can.
now.
Okay, maybe.
Okay.
So I say we've been working on 3 pillars: the roadmap itself, then the National Water Resources Master Plan that was developed in 1995, but it was never fully implemented, which we're trying to implement now. And also the other 3rd pillar is the Sustainable Development Goals, because Nigeria has subscribed to the SDGs, and whatever we're doing, we must work within that framework. So these are the 3 pillars frameworks under which we've been operating since 2016.
You have been, since 2017, you have been championing the campaign to end open defecation in Nigeria by 2025. How realistic is that?
Well, if you have a huge problem or you have a huge endeavor, you have to aim big. If we don't put this tough target on ourselves, we'll probably be lackadaisical about it and not pay much attention to it. But setting that target of 2025 makes us to keep our eyes on the ball. And I can tell you, until 2017, maybe thousands of communities, little communities were open defecation free. But we worked on getting 1 full local government to the ODF, and that was the trigger. As I'm talking to you today, we have 72. We would have wanted to do more. The COVID pandemic last year really bogged us down. But we're stepping up the campaign. Now, as I'm talking to you, we have 72 LGAs that are open defecation free. We expect to get more. Many more are being validated. at the moment. But this year, we're stepping up, we're upping up the tempo, and it's realistic, but we need state governments key into to have the same political will and commitment as we have at federal level. If the states is any state that is not committed, the state government, the political leadership at the state level is not committed, then we're going to have problems. But in any case, the SDGs has a target to 2030. I'm hoping that even if we're not able to achieve 100% by 2025, we'll be talking in the region of 80, 90%. Hopefully before the year 2030, we'll have achieved. If you are in any situation, if you have an exam, if you make 70%, I think it's an A. So, so we'll continue to do the best we can, but it's not a federal government responsibility alone. The federal government is providing the leadership, and that's why we're not even spending any money. We're just spending our money on advocacy and training workshops and so on and so forth. It is up to individuals like all of us, and I would appeal to everybody that is on this forum to take it upon himself that it's a responsibility for you to go back to your communities and encourage your people to be open defecation free. This thing cuts across all cultures and all communities in this country, only that some have more serious problems than others. But there is no community in this country that is not open, that you don't see people practicing open defecation. We build schools, we build hospitals without proper toilets. And I think it's one big shame that we must get out of our system. So please stand to be counted, all of you. I'm glad that you brought up this issue, and it's a good opportunity for me to continue my advocacy, all of us, to join the bandwagon and campaign against open defecation. Maybe this year, I hope we will be able to celebrate the first state that is open defecation free. There is a huge contest between Katsina State and my beloved state, Jigawa State. So we'll see who is the winner.
The water resources bill. Why are there so much controversies surrounding the bill?
I don't know. I'm a technocrat, I'm a professional.
You are a major player in the bill, yes. You should know.
Yeah, but as far as the technical aspects of this bill are concerned, there's nothing to worry about. It's politicians that are just using it to heat up the polity, that's all. And there's no reason for it. You have
severally been accused that there are some elements of the bill that have to do with land grabbing. Is it true or false?
False. There's nothing in this bill that has to do with any land grabbing. Nothing. In fact, we subjected this after all the hula baloo. We sat down again. We invited experts to look at the bill. 3 days ago, a professor of law that we assigned to environmental law.
Can you increase your mic, sir? Come close to the mic.
Okay, I said just 3 days ago, a professor of environmental law that we assigned to review the bill came back to us and said he himself that there's nothing wrong with this bill. You know, for any professional, any water expert that looks at this bill will tell you there's nothing wrong with it. People were looking for everything to ascribe to Fulani herdsmen crisis. And it so happened that that bill was being debated in the National Assembly at the same time as the hype was on a so-called Fulani herdsmen crisis that has been on with us for hundreds of years anyway, and tied everything. Every comment that you have had in the media, on the editorials on this water bill is false. It's not true. The guys that have been doing this have not read the bill, side by side, even with the existing. Look, 95% of what is in that bill is already existing in our laws. It's existing in the Water Resources Act, existing Water Resources Act, in the River Basin Development Authorities Act, in the National Water Resources Institute Act, and in the Nigerian Hydrological Services Act. All we are doing is bringing those 4 laws into one book, one statute. And then we added a couple of things. The need to devolve certain powers of the minister. This bill is taking away powers of the minister and, how do I put it, enabling or empowering the communities to have a say in whatever water resource development that is happening in their state. I gave an example of Kafin Zaki Dam in Bauchi State. Because we have adopted the concept of integrated water resources management, and despite the Water Resources Act, existing Water Resources Act, that empowers me as minister to develop the water resources of this country as I deem fit, we still haven't been able to do the Kafin Zaki Dam because the communities downstream say they are not ready to accept it. It wasn't like this before. You didn't have to consult anybody to do any water resources development in the past. Now we have to do that. And what we are trying to do is to enforce that, to strengthen that, so that people will have a say. We'll have catchment management committees at catchment level, and we have an independent regulator of the water sector, the same way you have a regulator for the power sector, so that political leaders like us cannot come and impose our will on the people when it comes to issues of water resource development. That's just it. And people is going to benefit the people. And in any case, the issue of whether federal government is controlling the water with the rivers of this country is already a settled matter. It's in the Constitution. Schedule 64 is there. All water bodies that transcend state boundaries are under the control of the federal government. Is it the same arrangement with our national highways? Any highway that links two states is a federal highway. The airspace, Nigerian airspace, is under the control of the federal government. Is that not so? The railway is in the hands of the federal government. It's in the same thing that this is so. But I have never, as Minister of Water Resources, gone to claim, to stake a claim on Nike Lake or Oguta Lake in Imo State, because these are lakes that are within the boundaries of the state and are not within the purview of the Federal Ministry of Water Resources. But if the federal government is not in control of River Niger, imagine a situation where Kebbi State wakes up one day and decides to dam River Niger. Or imagine a situation where ADAMU State comes one day and says it's going to dam River Benue. These are the two states through which this river is flowing. What's going to happen to Lokoja? What's going to happen to Ida? What's going to happen to Onisha? What's going to happen to the bifurcation and all those creeks in the Delta area? Somebody, a big brother, has to be there to protect the interests of those downstream communities. And what happens today if Benue State decides to create an industrial park on the banks of River Benue, and you have tanneries, you have other industries that are spewing poisonous waste into River Benue? What's going to happen? Who is going to stop them? So that's why you need this regulation. And there's nobody, we know we are complaining every day that there's no water in our taps. Well, first of all, it's not the responsibility of the Federal Ministry of Water Resources or the federal government, for that matter, to provide water to your taps in your houses. It's the responsibility of states to do that. But states are not being able to do it. And we keep talking that maybe in time we brought in the private sector to be part of this service delivery. No private sector company will come.
Honorable Minister, what is the status? What is the status of the bill?
The bill, I'm hopeful, I'm confident, will be passed in 2022, because we've made all the arrangements with the National Assembly, we've provided all the information, we've made all the arguments, and we are very confident that once the bill is tabled again this year, we couldn't do it last year because of budget, it could have been done at the end of the year. I'm confident that this bill will be passed this year.
Over 80% of your engineering practice revolves around water resources. Can you say you are a square peg in a square hole as Minister of Water Resources?
Look, I've done a lot of projects in water, yes. I'm better known with water projects, but I've also done quite a number of projects in highway. I've done quite a number of projects in structures. But I think it is an engineering ministry. And yes, it's a square peg in a square hole. Yes, I have a very good understanding of the water sector, and that has helped me tremendously. But I think any professional, this is a professional ministry, and if we have a professional, an engineer, any civil engineer, I think can handle this.
With your achievements so far, can you rate your performance?
I wouldn't want to do that. I think that will be, I don't think it's humble for me to do that. I would rather my peers do that, and I would rather maybe my staff in the ministry who have been here for long make up their mind whether my sojourn here has been worth it or not. But
you mentioned here that throughout the campaigns of President Buhari, you have been part of it. There are speculations that you have a blood relationship with Mr. President. Is it true?
False. I don't have any blood relationship with Mr. President. None. We are neighbors. He's from Katsina State, I'm from Jigawa State. And we just happen to be neighbors. Kazaure is 40-something kilometers to Daura. Finish.
No relationship at all.
I don't have any.
Maternal or paternal.
Well, we as neighbors, obviously we knew our families long time before. We have like everybody else, you can have family ties, you have family friends, and so on and so forth. But I don't have any blood relationship with Mr. President.
Your tenure as Minister of Water Resources will end in May 2023. Will you run for the governorship position of Jigawa State?
I have no plans for that.
You have no plans of running for the office of the governor?
I don't have any plans to do that. And I made that very clear the very first day I came to office. I told the staff in the Federal Ministry of Water Resources that I'm not the quintessential politician that comes and it's because I'm minister that I'm seeing this as a stepping stone to run for any future office. It's on record. And go to check in Jigawa State, I have not started creating any political structure. If I was running, I would be having political structure. But of course, everybody has his heroes. Everybody has his admirers. There are people that want me to, or expect me to, or think they can commandeer me into it. Good luck to them.
After Ministry of Water Resources, what next?
Well, I have a job waiting for me. I'm the district head of Roni, as Galadima, so that's one job. But I also, I really look forward to going back to do something in engineering. I don't know exactly. I don't know whether I'll go back to my office. I don't know whether I haven't decided. I will need to take a break, step back. We live in May 2023. Maybe I'll take the rest of the year full off. And then maybe I'll chat, of course, for myself. I would like to continue exercising my brain by doing some engineering activities. But like I said, I have an assignment also as a district head to go and administer about 150.
Talking about Kazaure, where you mentioned you are a district head, you are the Galadiman of Kazaure. How do you combine the two roles as a minister and also as a district head?
First of all, I'm not paid any salary for that job, but I do find time to visit my domain. I'm on phone with them, but the Emir was also gracious enough to appoint somebody to act on my behalf in my absence for now. A neighboring district head is overseeing the day-to-day activities there, but I do take charge of ceremonial events and other issues, other developmental issues. I'm in touch with the developmental association, the youth groups. I get the constant reports about the security situation. So I'm quite in touch with them. Also try to take developments as much as I can, communities within the district, especially the aspect of water supply, because that's an area where we are in the Sahelian region. There are quite a number of communities that have very serious challenges in water. And by virtue of my position as Minister of Water Resources, of course, they expect me to intervene And I try to do what
Honorable
I can.
Minister, sir. Honorable Minister, sir, there has been a call for engineers to occupy the policy space or in the political arena. And the references have been made to you and your achievements as a minister. In fact, two prominent engineers who references have been made to include you and the Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Boniano. Two of you hit immediately. You were appointed as ministers. You started running, and because you were in familiar terrains. Now we also have engineers who are serving as governors. I will make reference to the governor of Ebonyi State and the governor of Borno State. Two of them have, shown quality in their leadership as governors. Don't you think, peradventure, the people of Jigawa State decides today that they want you to come and, show the same quality you have shown at the federal level and the state level, and they want you to come and serve them, just the same way the people of Kazaure has beckoned on you to come and serve them as their district head, and you accepted? Will you say no to the people of Jigawa State if they want you to serve them as their governor?
We'll cross the bridge when we reach it. I
want yes or no. I said, will you say no to them if they say?
It depends on who. Let's leave it like that.
The people of Jigawa State.
Yeah, there are people now.
In the Constitution,
there are people you can't, there are people you can say no to, and there are people you can't say no to. So.
Okay, let me put it like this: the entire people of Jigawa State.
It's always difficult to reach that kind of consensus. I tell the entire people of Jigawa State will come and say this and that. But there are people that you can't say.
That's why I say peradventure. Peradventure, they say.
Okay, let the adventure happen now.
Okay, we leave it there.
Yes.
The Honorable Minister, sir. What would be the, as we're winding up before we go to the corner kick section, what will be the title of a book about your life?
Just a moment. Somebody just, I'm coming, please. I don't know what's happening. Somebody, the TV just came on and it's not taking. I'm trying to mute it. Switch off this TV. Switch it off. Thank you. Sorry about that. I think the light went off and the TV just popped in, and the volume was too loud. Well, I don't know. You said if I were to write a book,
what would be the title?
I haven't thought of it. But
just give us a clue.
To be honest with you, I would like to, if I were to write a book, I think one of the things I would like to talk about would be, my experience in terms of how we've been dealing with our values in this country, how we were part of the generation that had a lot of values in the last 50 years or so, but we've seen those values degenerating over time. And so whatever I write, I'll definitely, this word values continue to ring a bell and probably form part of the title. So,
what is your advice for young engineers, and what is your advice for the Nigerian Society of Engineers, talking about its leadership?
For the young engineers, self-development is very, very important. You need to, it's not just to have the degree, you need to improve yourself, whatever ways you can. If you have the privilege to have a mentor, sit down and learn. Learn the work. If you don't learn, you cannot be successful. I think that's just to, and don't be in a hurry. Don't be in a hurry. Don't be looking at the money. Don't be, learn the job, learn the profession. And it's not, you don't learn it from just the textbook. You find out by the time you come into practice, maybe 80 or 90% of the theories that you have learned in school, you're not going to see them anymore. Especially now that we even have software. We were doing things from first principle. We're doing all our bending moment, our moment distribution calculations manually. Now you just put in the drawing in the computer and things just come out easy for you. Self-development, very, very important. Understand the job. Be proficient and continue to improve. Always. You have to be good in what you are doing. Be successful. For the NSE,
and for the Nigerian Society of Engineers.
Well, the Nigerian Society of Engineers, I think we've been doing the best we can, but I think our advocacy, I don't know whether we're not doing enough or is it that we're not being listened to. So we need to really reassess ourselves and see that we become much more influential and we're able to really get the government listen. As we're lucky, we have some engineers in cabinet now that even without initiation, all this thing, like the executive order, this I think that NSE has been working on, ICANN has been working on for years, but luckily we're able to get it. But I know also there are quite a number of things that we're still not getting. For instance, getting the right kind of people. Well, I think it's very, very important that ministries or agencies that have to do with infrastructure will make sure that the people at the helm of affairs are engineers. It's very, very important. I think even though there are people like us in this government, I think we are still underrepresented. I'm not saying my colleagues that are managing some of these ministries are not doing very well. They're doing a tremendous amount of job, but I can assure you, if there's an engineer in the right place, the thinking will be different, the approach will be different, and it will be a lot better.
Thank you, the Honorable Minister of Water Resources, Federal Republic of Nigeria, a very distinguished engineer, SULEIMAN Hussaini Adamu, Fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers and Fellow of the Academy of Engineering, for coming inside the arena. The Honorable Minister, sir, we are going to be opening the floor. Is going to be the corner kick segment of this program for the participants to ask questions, and you will respond to the questions. Then after that, we go to our prize giving session to know who is going to be the winner of this beautiful laptop I have in my hand. So please, anybody that has question, we have our rule, you raise your hand and you'll be asked to unmute your mic. You ask your question. Engineer Ikenna Okonkwo.
Okay, good evening, engineers. Good evening, Benosi. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
I can hear you.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for the arena program you've been doing. You've been assembling the cream de la cream of Nigerian Society of Engineers, and a lot of learning has taken place, and another great learning is taking place today. Mine will not be a question, but to commend the Honorable Minister SULEIMAN Adamu. I've once chatted him. He appeared on the platform for Radio Nigeria program for 2 times, and the answers he gave to questions asked to him on civil engineering, water resources, hydraulics, draft development, and river channeling was very beautiful, dam construction. I was so much impressed. And I said that because it's going to be on Arena today, I will not miss it. Let me use the opportunity to say, thank you so much. You're a huge encouragement. You're a huge motivator. We are proud of you. We are proud to see be an engineer when we see engineer talking like this. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bukumi Oladimeji. Okay, before Bukumi Oladimeji, sorry, I think I saw Oluwadare Joshua raise hand before. Joshua, you can please ask your question.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate our invited guest, Engineer SULEIMAN ADAMU. Thank you very much, Engineer Ben Ose. I appreciate you. My question is, what are the strategies for, because there are some issues in water resources in the water sector, what are the strategies for improvement of water supply and wastewater management in Nigeria? How can you list maybe 4 solutions, strategies for improvement of water supply and wastewater management in Nigeria? Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate you.
Okay, we take the next person, Bukumi Oladimeji.
All right. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you, Engineer Ben Osi. The Honorable Minister, it's an honor to meet you, sir. I've heard so much about you. And when you shared your story, it resonates well with me because I'm young, and ever since I decided to focus fully on consultancy practices, I was actually trained by one of your followers, Engineer Ibrahim Abu. Yes, sir, my question is, my practice, I got a membership with FAEng last year, and due to some of the challenges, I'm trying to position a kind of a private practice that can compete on a global scale. Now, the challenge I'm having is, how possible is it, or are there policies against implementing corporate governance as a consulting practice? Is it possible to implement corporate governance? What I mean is to have a kind of structure like a global business practice. I have seen some foreign consulting practice that they have a kind of structure, they have board of directors, they have advisories, they have business development, and a kind of structure that can, something similar to what they have in the banking sector or some of these other sectors that we have around. I don't know if you understand. This is my question, sir. Is it possible to implement corporate governance in consulting practice as relating to in this region in Nigeria, sir?
Thank you very much. James Akale. I think we'll take, after Akale, we'll take 1 more or 2 more, then the minister, honorable minister will respond.
Don't make them too many because I'll lose the argument. So maybe at a time.
Okay, after James Akale, we allow the honorable minister to respond, and then we come back to the questions.
Yeah, Your Excellency, sir, good to be here. Engineer Ben Osi, well done, nice work. Mr. Minister, sir, my question has always been bordered on personal development and how it affects our university graduates and in the engineering field. I've always been an advocate of, the question I really want to ask is, as a minister, we know contracts are awarded for water projects. Is there any policy where you could determine, say, for a certain amount of money or a certain amount of a contract or project, the certain number of Nigerian students, engineering students, must be trained? I don't know, is there any policy like that in the ministry? Because I happen to be a product of one during petroleum trust fund era. You know, I graduated from Ahmadu Bello University, where we were posted to engineering projects, you know, being managed by petroleum trust fund then. So I want to know if we have such in your ministry, where as you award contracts or projects, you defined provisions to cover for engineering students to be trained practically. You know, that's the question I really want to ask, and I want to know if such a thing exists or is existing. Because a lot of time we leave these students to their fate, going around looking for where to be placed on industrial training. And I must confess to you, sir, that initial training gave me a lot, you know, coming into the profession as a civil engineer then, which I was along the Port Harcourt Warri Road and the Port Harcourt environment. So I want to know if such a policy exists and how we can bring it into working in this country, sir.
All right, thank you very much. I think we'll allow the Honorable Minister to respond to some of the questions, then we'll come back to the final lap of the question segment.
Okay, first of all, you know, everybody, you were asking strategies for water supply and wastewater management. Well, quite a number of things. Like I said earlier, we are not, the ministry is not responsible for provision of water supply. Anybody. It's a responsibility of states. But we have done a lot of things in terms of capacity building, getting the states to corporatize their water agencies so that they can stand on their own and at least cover their costs and be able to continue to provide service. Some states are doing that, some have not been doing that. Because, like I said, political will matters. There are states where we have done projects that they just for them to run them. Federal government paid 100% for the project, and they were done. We have handed over to the state because they are the ones that are primed to run these water schemes, and they don't run them. So what have we have done things like that. We have introduced new programs like P-Wash. Now we have SAW-Wash, which is a World Bank program, $700 million World Bank program to support states. We have in the new water resources bill, we are putting a WASH fund, water sanitation and hygiene fund, to enable states leverage on that to be able to take water. In the bill again, to invest in water. In the water bill again, we have where we said one of the things we want to do is to strengthen regulation of the water sector so that we have an independent water resources management commission that will provide the basis for private sector to come in and invest, in providing water supply delivery in the country. So the strategies are there. And all the programs that we're doing, we're working with 12 states now, and we'll be doing 15 states on rural water. We are partnering with the states. Now it's a partnership. We are no longer, federal government is no longer going to be investing 100% of its funds on projects for states. Whatever project, the intervention the federal government is going to do must be, the state must provide their own money. And the latest strategy we are bringing in now is what we call performance for result. Again, we are even no longer going to say that, okay, we are going to award the contract. This is the component that the federal government will do. This is the component that the state will do. Under the water resources policy, federal government will support states with up to 30% of their investment in urban water schemes and 50% on rural water schemes. Okay, we accept we are going to do that, but federal government will not put its money until we have seen what the state is going to do, because they have been taking us for a ride. We're not going to do that anymore. So these are some of the strategies. On wastewater, we just introduced a new policy on fecal sludge management. It's been validated, so we have a policy on that. And again, it's going to be the responsibility of the states to be able to do this. We cannot run these schemes on our own, but and we have even introduced name and shame. Every year now, we take statistics of what the states are doing, how much they are faring in terms of water and sanitation. And every year I address the governors at the National Economic Council to say, this is your state, this is how much you're falling, or this is how much you've improved. So we are doing all that, and that's the best we can do under the circumstances. I hope that answers your question. Mr. Oladimeji, corporate structure. Well, those organizations, it all depends on size. Most consultancy firms are not that big, but they are, you know, if you go to the North, if you go to North America, some companies are allowed to practice as contractors, and they also have a consulting arm. So you see that they have big structure. It's up to you to decide how it works for you. It's not the structure as such that it's not how large your structure that matters. Is how effective it is. What is your area of performance? I mean, of practice. What's your area of expertise? So you need to put people around that area of expertise. But it's very important that some of the, if you want to practice, you know, globally, you must also be looking at ISO certifications where necessary, whether the general ISO certification 900, are we 9001 before? I'm out of touch a little bit. There are ISO certification for, if you want to be an environmental consultant, there are all sorts. So I think that is the best thing. And being able to attract the best brains. At the end of the day, wherever you go to look for work, it's the quality of your proposal, the quality of your experts, the one that you have, that you're able to deploy to the project that matter. So I don't think it's really about having so much department, this department and that department. You grow organically, and then you continue to improve on your structure as you go. I think that's just the way to put it. The third question from James Akali, very good point. For me here, when I came into office, and it's on record, up till today, I have not embarked on any new major projects. I've been implementing projects that I met based on existing contract agreements that did not have that kind of provision as we had during the PTF days. I'm happy you recall the PTF days. But our solution to youth empowerment has been, we created a new program for graduate youth empowerment in agriculture. That's the one that we have been doing, and it's open to everybody. But I take your point. Like I said, I've been implementing existing contracts, so it's very difficult to come and try to change those. But I think going forward, I'm just creating a catalog of directives, ministerial directives that have been given in so many aspects since I came into office. And I'm sure Engineer Tawhid, my essay, is listening. I think going forward, we're going to have, probably before we leave, where there's a possibility we may start off 2 or 3 new legacy projects. And I think we need to infuse that into it. I'm very happy that you reminded me. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, the Honorable Minister. We take Edward Udosin. Edward, please, can you ask your question?
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. My question is, what are you doing? What practical steps are you taking as a ministry to ensure that open defecation is eradicated according to your timeline?
Okay, we take the next person, Charles Eze.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Minister and Ben Osi, for this opportunity. I want to commend the Minister for all his achievements and elucidation through this interview. I didn't know we have such people in Nigeria. I hope they're hearing me.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I didn't know we have such people in Nigeria. What elated my heart is where the minister said, if they can do it, we can do it. When he made reference to foreign contractors and foreign companies that still operate as contractors, major contractors in Nigerian big construction concern. I went to Ghana some years ago, and I had an uninterrupted power supply. And a Ghanaian who was my assistant then was telling me, you Nigerians, you use foreigners. In Ghana, we design and construct our dams and all our electric systems. And that's why we don't have uninterruptible power supply. My question, sir, is You are a member of the Executive Council. And with this statement that you made today, I don't know why we still have foreign big contracting firms in Nigeria. When even some of those contracting firms, the other day I met a foreign contractor who is a Lebanese. And I know Nigerians are more resourceful than the Lebanese. Why haven't we started designing and constructing major projects in Nigeria? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Chidozie Okereke.
Yeah, my Honorable Minister, good evening. Please, my question goes towards what modalities are you using to checkmate the e-wash project in other states? What modalities are you, as the Minister for Water, use to checkmate other states, Ministry of Waters and Underwater Corporation? Thank you.
All right, thank you. I think that's all, for I have not seen any other hand raised. So, Honorable Minister, sir, can you respond to the questions?
Okay, the first one was from Edward. What measures are we taking to work according to our timeline? Well, like I said, let me be honest with you. You know, every time the federal government receives a lot of bashing, and I'm saying this because I think there's a complete misunderstanding. It's as if this country feels that federal government is the only government in the country. And people don't appreciate that there are responsibilities, layers of responsibility assigned to each level of government, local government, state government, and the federal government. What we can do, we have been doing. We provide the advocacy, we provide support, federal government provide the financing, but as long as state governments do not have the political will, no matter what we do, we don't get that. So the question we need to be asking is we need to be demanding from our states answers for some of the things that are happening. I cannot, even at federal level, just walk into any state. The land, the authority over the land, apart from the federal capital territory that is vested in the Minister of FCT, every other land is vested in the state government. So the federal government cannot even go, even if we want to do a dam, for instance, we still have to go and talk to the government, to the state government. And if they frustrate us, there's nothing we can do about it. So we need the states to support us. And I can tell you the way for this, the only way we can achieve this ODF campaign within time is if our state governors and state government apparatuses are ready and willing to accept it. Some have embraced, many others, I don't even, up to now, I think they're still sleeping. But what else are we doing? We are reaching out to the private sector, we're reaching out to the citizenry directly, because we keep saying that sanitation is everybody's business. It's your personal business because it affects you directly. So if we send the message to you directly that, look, you accept the fact that it is wrong to do open defecation, you accept, then we're okay. And then the other thing is that we're working on legislation. The idea of legislation is not so much because we want to cane people with koboko. No, if you have a legislation against it, then everybody at least knows that it is wrong. Because in some of our cultures, they don't even believe that open defecation is wrong. There are cultures in this country that believe that having a toilet in your house is a taboo. That the best option is for you to go to the bush. I've had funny stories where some people came from the US, living in the US, and when they came, they just decided to eject everything in the outside. Instead, you are doing OD, instead of going to the toilet. When they say, no, I love the fresh air, I've missed the fresh air. They can't do it in the US, but they came to Nigeria to do it because it's a culture. And these are the things that we must stop. So some of our strategies is reaching out to people directly. Also putting some legislation. We don't intend to punish. In FCT, for instance, we'll have the law, but we will not start punishing people until we make sure that there are public toilets around for people to use. And executive order number 5 says even filling stations and shops and everybody, offices should open their toilets to the public. So that if somebody is hard pressed, you can use it. Now you have a right as a citizen to go and demand it. If you feel you want to ease yourself, you see a filling station next to you, they should not stop you. If they stop you, you should report. We should be, also we should police it. And if the Nigerian society citizens embrace this program, embrace this idea of opening, it will run on automatic pilot. That's exactly what happened in India. It took a life of its own. And that's what we are working towards, make sure that the campaign against open defecation takes a life of its own. The second question from Charles is the foreign firms dominating. Okay, first of all, that's why we brought out the executive order number 5. It's one of the reasons, so that to stem that. Secondly, I think one of the problems is, yes, we have the brains, we have the engineers, we have people that can do it, but we don't have the resources. Engineers are not good businessmen, generally. Let's admit. For a long time, until FIDIC, the International Federation of Consulting Engineers, opened my eyes to the idea that consultancy is a business. If people ask me how is business, I'll say, no, don't talk to me about business. Ask me how is practice. But now, later, FIDIC made us to understand that consulting engineering is a business and we should treat it as a business. But engineers are people that are, we are contented. We are never going after the fat money, but we are critical to development, and we must begin to appreciate that. But all these foreign companies, the difference between us and this company is not that they have better knowledge. It's just that they have better resources. And where do they get these resources? Their government support them. Most of the Chinese companies you see here are deliberately supported by their government or by their banks. But in Nigeria, our banks, I've been saying this and I will quote me anywhere, our banks are not partners for development in this country. They are after businesses. Our banks support businesses, support traders, but they don't support developmental ventures like ours. You cannot go to a bank, the atmosphere without, even with the executive order number 5, no bank, you cannot go and start as an engineer. You want to give JB or Dantata or ECC a run for their money, and you get a bank to support you. You won't get that. We do not have the resources as a government to back agencies like that. But even where the government was backing some companies like Dangote Cement, Transcorp, they were backing businessmen and bankers. They were not backing engineers. And another problem sometimes is, when I was practicing, I can tell you that some of the problems that we face as engineers are created by our colleagues in government. You come, your colleague, the government is supposed to be there, is supposed to help you. He will not. And I used to tell them, okay, you retire, you come out and join the same queue with us. And then you will know what it means to survive on this other side of the fight. So a lot of issues, but we are the architects of our own problem. So if we can get our financial institutions to support us, we can get those of us in government to support the profession, we can get our government to support what we're doing, then we can. And this executive order number 5 is unprecedented. It's the best opportunity. I've said it as I addressed the Nigerian Institute of Civil Engineers one time, and I did mention that it's ours is an opportunity for us to lose. We lose this opportunity, I don't know where we're going to get it. Last one, Mr. Dozie, checkmating other states and water corporation. Look, I think short of what I said about performance for result, there is nothing we can do. We don't have a supervisory role at Federal Ministry of Waters or federal government over any state. They are independent entities, they are independent governments. They were elected governments like the federal government, or our president was elected. So they have their own policies and programs. Mark you, some of the states are not under the ruling party. But even if they're under the ruling party, they are governments of their own. So it's difficult to police them. The best we can do is what we say we're doing. If we're going to support you, we have to lay the conditions under which we will support you. I can tell you we have lots of problems. We have many projects that we have done, 6 billion, 5 billion naira projects, and handed over to the states. And if you go there, you cry. After all the investment that was made, to spend 2 million, 3 million a month, employ engineers to run the schemes, 5, 6 billion naira investment, they will not do it. and the law does not allow us to do it. But if we have the law in the water law in place, we can work out some arrangement. We can invite the private sector to come around the state, working with the state governments and the federal government. Something like that can be done. But as it is now, the regulations do not allow for us to interfere with what is happening in the states, unfortunately.
The Honorable Minister, sir, we are going to just take 2 more questions, just 2. And that will be the last questions we will take. One is from Felix Okonkwo, and the other one is from Engineer Memaje. So Felix Okonkwo, you unmute your mic and ask your question. Immediately after that, Engineer Memaje.
Honorable Minister, Ben Oko, I salute all of you. I greet all the participants. Before my question, I start with observation. I have visited one UNCH, Kozala, Enugu State, which is a very big federal project. But I observe that there is scarcity of water supply to that UNCH, especially the apex body of College of Medicine, and Enugu. My question is, sir, of what assistance can you render to resolve or salvage the issue of water supply to the hospital? Thank you, sir.
Sorry, I didn't get your last bit. There was somebody had his microphone open.
Okay, I said I have visited UNCH in Kozala, Enugu, and I observed that there is serious lack of water supply in that UNCH. And there is a stream around that UNCH that if it is dammed, there will be enough water supply to the UNCH, especially that apex body, College of Medicine, UNCH. There is no water supply at all. What I see there is that tankers are supplying water on daily basis. When there is a stream that if we dam, we can get enough water from there to the College of Medicine, UNCH. My question is, sir, of what assistance can you be to salvage or resolve the issue of water in that UNCH? It's a very big federal project. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. The final one, Engineer Memaje.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Honorable Minister. Mine is going to be off the track of others following. You see, you are a professional and managing a ministry under a political destiny. My question is, how do you manage this? I know you have been very successful in what you are doing, but as a professional and now I can say as a politician, how do you marry the two together and being very successful? It sounds very personal. I had wanted to ask you separately, but I know you will not answer me, but I think here you will tell everybody so that others will follow your shoes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
The Honorable Minister, back to you.
Okay, Felix, first of all, you see, how can a hospital really, how can you run a hospital without water? They ought to, they ought to be getting their water ideally for a municipal water supply. And I know that there's no water in Enugu. And that's one of my quarrels. Everybody has been drilling borehole. In Nigeria, we have this attitude. When we have a problem, instead of us to tackle that problem, no, we want to find a way around it. When you don't have water, there's no municipal water, instead of you to demand for availability of water, as we used to have it before, everybody is struggling to build a borehole for himself. One day, we are going to be having interference in all our boreholes that none of us will have the water in a particular community. It's happening. When we don't have light, instead of us all these years to have been demanding power to improve, people started finding a way out by buying generators. to the extent that when even the unity of the country started, people started buying passports for other countries. I mean, we can't continue to do this. If you're in Nigeria, you must sit down and tackle your problems. Even in my ministry, when I came, okay, the river basins were down. They built Gurara, a complex, and instead of the usual practice of handing over the dam and the facilities to Upper Nigeria River Basin Development Authority, they created the Gurara Water Management, which I was very, very glad to scrap, because I didn't see any base for that. What we need to do is always tackle our problems and resolve them. In any case, we have a program within the ministry. Every year, we take some federal institutions and we support them up to a limited level. The UN College Hospital has not approached this ministry. Ordinarily, they should put it in their budget and do it. But if they don't have money, they have not approached this ministry and requested for some kind of intervention. We've been doing interventions in universities, we've been doing it in police barracks, immigration, customs, and so on. If they come to us, we can look at it and see what kind of support we can give them. But it's not our responsibility, primarily. But we understand certain situations, and sometimes the budget is not enough, and we try for our own budget to support that and those kind of things that we can do. Engineer Memaje, that's a very interesting question. I think, to be honest with you, in my view, what I have done is to actually put the professional part of me in the forefront and really take the political part of me, put it in the rear. It's not that I look at it through the rear view mirror. So I put 80% of my effort, my thinking and my work on the professional side. My professional judgment takes 80% of everything. So when I look at a situation, I look at the professional judgment first. I look at the project or the program. How I use professional judgment to determine the way to go. I cannot take the political side out, but I try to strike I try to navigate through it like a minefield. Sometimes you have to deal with National Assembly, you have to do, and sometimes I allow other people to do it. But like something like National Assembly, it's a very difficult institution to deal with. And I've been lucky, I've had permanent secretaries who I talk and allow them to go and handle some of the issues there. But sometimes, obviously, something must come to me. So I have to do this. So I try to maintain a cordial relationship, colleagues, National Assembly, my bosses, but at the same time, I always make I'm bold enough to make a professional argument, say that, look, this cannot work. And I'm very blunt at it. I'll tell you it will not work. I'll give you an example. So many people, ordinary people, the political class, will come and tell me, hey, dams are silting up. You need to start a program on desilting of dams. And outrightly, I'll tell them that I'm not desilting any dam. I'll tell them every dam has a lifespan. So if it's 50 years, it has reached 50 years, it's going to die anyway. I'm not going to waste my money desilting a dam. It's a very common thing. But I also make the point to explain to them why I have to take this decision. Because desilting a dam, spending money to desilt a dam, you might as well spend it building another dam. And go to the environmental impact. Where are you going to take the spoil when you remove it? How much is it going to cost you to excavate and cut to spoil? So all those things you need to explain. But by and large, I think that the summary of it all is that I push forward. I think I allow the professional judgment to prevail much more than the political one. And at the end of it, but I do not neglect the political side, and I try to strike a balance.
Thank you, Honorable Minister SULEIMAN ADAMU, for coming inside the arena. We are wrapping it up. Honorable Minister, we are going straight to the extra time, which is the question and the prize-winning segment. I have in my hand a beautiful laptop computer courtesy of the Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, sir, we will ask a question from some of the answers you provided. One question. You will watch the chat box. The first person to get the correct answer, you'll be the one to pronounce the winner. The first person to type in the correct answer to your question will automatically win this prize. And the question is this: when you were talking, you are responding to some of the questions about your relationship with Mr. President. You did say that you wrote the manifesto of Mr. President with an engineer. What is the surname of that engineer? The question, what is the surname of the engineer that the Honorable Minister wrote the manifesto of President Buhari with? The first person to post the correct answer wins the laptop. The surname of the engineer. Do we have any? Honorable Ministers, have you seen any?
Yeah. Oh, you want me? Am I the one to pronounce the name?
Yeah, the person to get the correct spelling and the answer first automatically wins.
Okay, I think
you tell us the name of the person.
Ule Adebajo, got the spelling right. And,
no, if you say what?
Ule Adebajo.
No, we the Excellency will not take, if it is Ule Adebajo, we will not take Ule Adebajo.
I am going to respond.
Because he has won. He won the second laptop in the previous game.
Oh.
So previous winners will be exempted.
Okay. Then we have
Adebajo, please.
Honorable Minister, I would like to drop that prize and ask that somebody else wins it. Thank you.
Okay. The next person.
Wonderful evening.
Thank you for
number two.
Thank you for your magnanimity. The second person is Engineer Lawal Fawale.
Engineer
Lawale Fawale. Yes, Lawale Fawale.
Okay. Engineer Lawale.
They just
Fawale, please, can you show us your face?
Seconds apart.
Can you show us your face, Engineer Lawale? Okay.
Oh, that's it.
I can't see you. Can you unmute your mic so I can see you? Speak.
Good evening.
Let me see your face.
Engineer Ben, good evening, sir.
Okay, let me see if I can. Okay.
Wait.
I think
Ben, I want to intervene. It's not the winner. He put engineer. The surname is not engineer. The surname is purely Rafindadi. That's all.
No. Mr. No. The Honorable Minister will decide. The Honorable Minister.
Okay. No, Lawale has it. In fact, his answer came just a split second after
did he check his own chat box? The one directly to him.
He came immediately after the same 448, just a split second after Engineer Kule Adebajo. So I think he has tried.
Okay, I think with that, the Honorable Minister has decided. We say a very big congratulations to Engineer Lawale Fawale for winning this laptop. Where are you based, Engineer Lawale?
In Abuja.
You are based in Abuja. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So please, tomorrow, you
Yes, sir.
can call me so that you can
All right.
pick up your prize. We say very big congratulations to you.
All
And
right.
we say
Thank you very
thank you
much.
to the Honorable Minister,
Thank you
Engineer
so much.
SULEIMAN
Honorable
ADAMU. It's been a wonderful time being with you inside the arena. I believe that you will still find time, maybe in subsequent editions in future, if we invite you, maybe as the governor of Jigawa State, you will still respond to our invitation. And to all the participants, we say a very big thank you to all of you. With that, we have come to the end of Inside the Arena. I remain yours sincerely, Engineer Ben O.C. Oko, the host, signing out. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you very much for inviting me to this interesting outing.
Thank you so much. We are very grateful.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.